I am finally ready to speak my truth. This is a truth I have been resistant to, that I have been, I would say, actively avoidant. But today I spoke it aloud with confidence and some amount of giving up. Hello, my hair is purple. Technically purple and blue. Different cameras have been picking up the colors in different ways, but it actually seems like it's coming out pretty good on this camera. So yeah, I thought I would, for fun, try out a temporary hair color that my friend told me to use ages ago. I'll link it down below. It's called Mofajang. I got it off of Amazon, but it is like a brand that is like very much for like curly natural hair. I tried this brand for the first time when I was first transitioning my hair, and I tried it on like my relaxed hair, which was straight, and it was terrible. So it was just like horrible all around, and I was like, oh, this is bad. But yeah, it works really well for like when you have curly natural hair. But anyway, I digress. I'm coming at you here because it is finally time to reveal both the title and the cover of what you have known this whole time as Bear Hunt, and what you will now know is called Tender Beasts. So somewhere I will flash up, or I will take a short break to show you the title reveal video. Okay, you saw it? Wasn't it nice? I put that together myself. And so then here is also the cover if you haven't seen it. So very excited to be getting to share this soon, but in this moment now, I haven't done any of this. So like, I am currently in the process of figuring out how I want to do this title intro video. So what I did for Delicious Monsters is last year is I did a title reveal video that was like, hey, the cover reveal is coming soon. And then I also did like did I do a cover reveal? Yes, I did a cover reveal video, which I'm not going to do this time around. And this is why. This is a learning that I've had. In terms of like the cover, I found that just sharing the static photo with like a couple bullet points about stuff like buzzwords of things that are in the book, I find that that works the absolute best for revealing the cover. And so previously I used to like to do videos and stuff, but I honestly find that they don't perform as well. I don't know if it's just like people don't have the attention span to watch the video or like what it is, but when they just see the cover, I find that that works really great. So I like doing the title intro video because then I kind of like get people excited for the cover reveal to come, and then when I actually do the cover reveal, I'm just going to show the static photo of the cover and have some like bullet points. So right now I'm in the process of figuring out how I'm going to put together this video and what it's going to be, and also what are the little buzzword things I'm going to put for the title reveal. And so I have to do a few things. So I gotta figure out this video, what I'm gonna do for it. I have to make the video, which is its own separate task, and then I have to write out all the copy for what I'm gonna post on each separate social media platform, and then I also have to do the what is it? The captions, the subtitle, the description of what's happening in the video, because when I do reveals like that, I want to have that available for accessibility's sake, and then for anticipation of the cover reveal, I already have the cover file, so I also need to get the copy done for like what are those bullet point things I'm going to share, and then also get the alt description ready for the cover, and I'll use that a bunch of times for the cover. It's just I do a very, very detailed alt description, so people who are not able to see the image can like have a good idea of what the cover looks like. So that is what I have to get done, and I'm gonna be doing it over this week because, well, I want to do the title reveal video on Friday because the cover reveal is on Monday, so I have kind of a short period of time to get this ready. So right now what I'm thinking is I want to have the video, because there's claw marks through the cover, and so I want the cover, okay, I want to do the background, which is the background of the book that you can see, that like French toile, toile, is it toile? I don't know how you pronounce it, but like that background, and then I'm gonna have the text coming up on it. And then I think I want to do, this is so funny that I'm describing it to you because I literally would have showed you the video before this anyway, and then I want to have like a claw, like I want to have something rip at it and like a good ripping sound. So I don't know how to do that in Premiere Pro, but I'm gonna figure it out. Right now I'm gonna figure out how I'm gonna do that and like try and animate that. And so that is my task for the day. It is also the release day for Lost in the Void. Hopefully that's showing up nicer. I'll bring it a little closer. But anyway, this is a He-Man and the Masters of the Universe book. It's part of the Tales of Eternia series. It is the third book, which I wrote, yours truly wrote. I do have a video down below talking all about the IP process and like writing this and stuff. I actually have 2 videos, and so I'll link those below if you want to learn more about it. But yeah, this is out today. I'm very excited. It was really fun to write Tila's story, and so that's also out today. So I also have to be on the lookout because Mattel and or my publisher Abrams is gonna do a post, and then I will be able to repost it. So I'm just waiting for that to happen.
What's the chance you're calling me out? What's the chance I'ma hear it coming out of your mouth? What's the chance you're putting me out? What's the chance I'ma hear? I don't love you, don't wanna lose your love, and you don't wanna let go. What you do? What's the chance you're calling me out? What's the chance I'ma hear it coming out of your mouth? Now you won't know my time, babe, but I can't even stand being with you. You stay on my mind.
I feel like I'm only now fully conceptualizing that I've written a spicy scene. And it's like thriller spicy though. I will say, like when you're reading like a thriller book and then like suddenly a sex scene appears and you're like, oh okay, but it's like, you know, it's thriller style, like it's like brief, it's not like certainly a long romance drawn out sort of thing, and it's like, you know, it like adds its own thing to the tension and the characters and what's going on. And so I've done one of those, and I didn't even do it today, but I think today was the drafting day where I was like, wow, I wrote that. Because so this is the thing about my writing. I do like romance in books. I like putting it in, but I notoriously become embarrassed. And so like for my like YA fantasy stuff, like even writing in the kiss scene, when I do my first initial drafts, there will be no kiss scene because I'm too embarrassed about it. And so then I usually end up going in by like, I want to say like a second draft, and that's when I'll be like, okay, now I'll put it in. And I like suffer through it. And it's funny because like I like reading these things in books and I want to have it in the book, but I myself am embarrassed to write it down. So it's wild for me in this adult project to have any amount of spiciness. But I could have done a fade to black, but I was like, you know what? I'm already pushing myself on all these different things with this book. Why not also push myself here? And it actually wasn't as terrible as I thought it would be. And I think that's why it's taken me a couple days to come around to it, because it wasn't as terrible as I thought it would be. But now I'm like, I might have to like read over, I don't know, do I know specifically? I know at least one thriller I've read that had like a couple spicy scenes in it. I was like, I feel like I should read over them to like make sure mine isn't cringy. So I might have to do that. But anyway, so that is drafting. Drafting is going well. I also have come on here, if you've seen my mid-year thingy, you already know this. But I am returning to working on A Mastery of Monsters, which is my young adult dark academia that I started working on last year. I was like, I have too much to do for this. It's overwhelming. And so then I was like, I'm going to put it on hold. But I've decided to take it off of hold because I looked back at it and I was like, oh, this isn't as bad as I thought it was. I think more than anything, and I talked about this in the mid-year check-in, is that I just needed space from it more than anything, I think. And having space from it has been really good for me because I've been able to think of a lot more things. I like know all the different things I want to edit, and it feels more like going into it, I'm going to be doing just like a very robust second draft / polishing of the first draft than what I think I came away with at the end of last year, which is that I needed to rewrite it for some reason. And I'm like, I actually don't need to rewrite it. And so yeah, I'm not studying that immediately just because my copy edits for Tender Beast came in, and so I have to work on those because that is, you know, it's a book I have to work on. And so I'm gonna be working on that, but I will be done that June 20th is my deadline for copy edits, and then I'm gonna be jumping into doing research for Mastery of Monsters. But I'm very excited about it. I've been like listening to my little Mastery of Monsters playlist on repeat, and I've been like thinking of different scenes, and it's very interesting for me because I think of this as its series, as like the 3-book series, and because I have so many ideas about the other books, I feel like I'm almost thinking of them all kind of in tandem, even though I'm obviously not going to be working on them all at once. That's not really how it goes in Trad Pub. Like, you do the first book and then you see how things go. And sometimes you also do the second book and see how things go. So, but I feel like because I think of it so much as a collection, it's just natural for me to think of it that way. And maybe I don't get to do all that, but it's important for me to think of it like that. And so yeah, it's been really exciting to think about the different places and like where it can go. And I think it was also helpful to have last month been so much in my anime bag, because I've like been like very pumped up, because I think that's how I really think about this book. It's very much like I'm coming into it with like the spirit of like things I really like in like shonen anime, like, you know, the fight scenes and even how some of the character arcs are put together, and like also how like the season arcs are done, and how those kind of function on their own as part of the greater whole of the series. And I think it's really interesting to think about that way in terms of writing a book series, because I think a book series has its own different sort of structure, and I think I really kind of want to get a little bit more into that sort of like anime arc structure than like a book trilogy structure, which has also been interesting. So that's going to be coming up. I will get some time to work on that towards the end of the month, though it's pretty much going to be all researching, but figured I would share that update.
Call me, I'm confused. You're calling me up, picking you up and fucking you all night. I never know where it could go, but know that it won't be the last time. We fall asleep, wake up and act surprised. Sex was a secret, now it's an open lie. Remember, I was wrong, I was stoned, you were like, oh, oh. You had no love for me like, oh, oh. Probably cause you don't wanna reflect, and the reason why you can't get all upset. What's the chance you're calling me out? What's the chance I'm here coming out of your mind? What's the chance you're putting me out?
I'm having editing thoughts. So, you will have seen me, if you watched my mid-year writing update, you would have heard me talk about this a little bit already. But I'm having editing thoughts as I work on the couples retreat, and my main thought right now is about cutting the second point of view. So when I conceptualized of this book, there's the main point of view, which is Harper, who is the woman in the couple that is going to this retreat / resort. And so that's the main point of view. And she is most of the book. Because as in when I do second POVs in my books, I don't do them equally. There is almost always one main POV that is the majority of the book, and then like, I want to say 6 to 10 chapters that belong to a different character, which is still like a POV character, but they're more secondary. And so I've done that in Delicious Monsters, I've done that in Tender Bees, and this was my plan to do this again for this book. And it was gonna be this woman named Cece, and she works at the resort. And and this is how the Newlyweds was as well, by the way. So when I wrote the Newlyweds, which was my previous horror thriller attempt, that POV also existed. And so there was always the POV of like someone in it, the main character, and then someone working for what they were in. So I'm sorry, it's confusing to say that for the Newlyweds. I don't know why I'm worried about spoilers. I was like, I don't know, maybe one day I do something with it. Anyway, but it was someone working within a company whose POV you were getting to see, because I wanted to talk about like toxic workplace environments and that sort of thing. And so that is why I had that character, because from the beginning when I started this adult horror thriller journey, that was always something I wanted to talk about. But as I've been drafting, because Harper also works in like a corporate structure, she herself is regularly thinking about her career, thinking about how those structures are made up, thinking about how this company, this resort as a company is operating. And so because she's thinking about that naturally, because that's her work, I'm kind of already getting to talk about those things. And so what's happening in the CC POV is starting to feel kind of irrelevant, but also Cece is a very passive character. And so she has scenes with Harper because she's supposed to be interviewing Harper for like their social media channels. It's something that just Harper agrees to do because I don't think my logic on that is completely sound, but she agrees to do it. And so Cece is interviewing her, but Harper is trying to use Cece to get information about what's going on at the resort, because she's kind of like, something's kind of weird here. And so Harper's really asserting herself in those scenes, and it's Cece's POV, but Harper is so completely taking over the scene, 100% taking over the scene. She is the most interesting character in the scene. She's the most engaging character in the scene. And Cece is just there. And like, I kind of wanted to play with that, but I just feel like it's distracting at this point. And so there were some things about Cece's POV that I really liked and that I thought were like cool and interesting, but I also think that these are things that Harper could witness on her own, and like not necessarily need Cece's first-hand account. And so I'm still gonna continue writing the second POV as is, just because it'll give me a better idea of like kind of what I'm working with. Also, I wanted to give like more of an insider POV of like what's going on at the resort, but I also kind of feel like I don't really want that, because in a horror thriller, like the more that you know behind the scenes, the more it kind of takes away from what the main character is discovering and like that journey. And so that's just kind of my feeling right now, is that I don't think the second POV is gonna work. And I did think there were some cool things with the second POV, but the things that I think are cool with the second POV, I could easily just make happen to Harper. Like there's one scene that I was like, oh, this is like pretty upsetting, but it technically, I was like, I could make that happen to Harper and it would just be so much more interesting. And so that second POV character would still exist in the story, because she does still have kind of like just like a role. But I think it would be better to just incorporate her into the main POV, find some other way for her and Harper to be in regular contact other than this kind of interview thing, but like find some way to link them together Or maybe it is the interview thing. I don't know. But I just feel like those scenes can just be Harper's scenes. And we can be done away with them being from Cece's point of view. And I also think the POV character, like, as I write her, I think she's kind of fun to write. But I also think that her arc is, like, really weak. Her arc is really weak. Her backstory is really weak. It's just like, all of her stuff is just so background, and I'm like, I don't think you need to be here. So I think ultimately I'm gonna end up revising that, but for now I'm just gonna keep on keeping on.
I had an old time soul, baby, we were kissing for the whole ride home, laying making wishes, it was all night long. You told me you loved me and I sang this song, I sang this song. I had an old time soul, baby, we were kissing for the whole ride home, laying making wishes, it was all night long. You told me you loved me and I sang this song.
I am finally ready to speak my truth. This is a truth I have been resistant to, that I have been, I would say, actively avoidant, but today I spoke it aloud with confidence and some amount of giving up. But I am here to say it here now with confidence. And this is the truth. The book I am writing is an adult thriller. Period. 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 It is an adult thriller. I have for a long time attached the horror to it. It was an adult horror thriller, and then it was just it was an adult thriller horror, and now I am ready to confront the truth and the reality that it is just an adult thriller. So when I started this process, I wrote a book. Well, I didn't finish it, but I wrote a lot of a book called 6 Days and 5 Nights, and that was a horror thriller. When I tried to rewrite 6 Days and 5 Nights, that was also a horror thriller. When I scrapped that whole thing and I wrote The Newlyweds, that was a horror thriller. So those all firmly fit in that category. What I am doing now is just a thriller. And I've talked a few times about how, like, something just being a thriller was very scary to me, but I am finally pulling on my big girl pants, and I'm saying to myself, this is really just a thriller. And really coming to this decision has been, in some ways, comparing this to my other books, comparing it to Delicious Monsters and Tender Beasts, which are thriller horror books. And I think it's just like the horror bit of those books, to me, is very evident. It is like extremely evident, and it is throughout the book. Like, they both have that feeling throughout the book, and they both are fitting very well into certain horror tropes. And then they have a thriller kind of stakes, thriller twists, mysteries, and like Tender Beast has more of a thriller pace to it. Even though it is a longer book, I don't think it's as long as it is being shown to be because it is less words than my other books. But it has a thriller pacing. They're built that way. But a large chunk of them has that horror chunk to it. And I don't think that this book has that, the way I'm writing it. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that's really something I've kind of had to come together to really understand and feel about the book, is that it isn't doing that horror bit, and I don't think it needs to. And I think what I imagined in my mind of it doing horror-wise, once I wrote it out in the book, it really wasn't coming off that way. And like, I could have pushed it, and I could push it to come off that way, but I really don't think it is supposed to. It's just not really what this story is doing. And yeah, so that's kind of an interesting part of this journey, because in all of my other attempts, it's really been that sort of blend, and this is really not that blend. However, it is
a very slight blend. So this book does have a speculative element to it, but it's something that's kind of part of the setup. And so it's, again, I'm avoiding kind of specifics of it. This resort has a technology that they're using that is not one that exists in our world or that would be used in that way. And so that technology is being incorporated into the treatment on the resort. But I would never call this a sci-fi thriller, because I think that people, that what they want from a sci-fi thriller is not what this book will give. It's just not what it's going to give to them. This book is, to me, quite a bit more like a book like The One by, I believe the author is John Mars. And so that book is about this, it's a thriller, and it's about this technology, and they have this technology to help people find their perfect match. And then there's different stories you're following, but it is really like a thriller. And like the fact that the technology is there is a bit more like a background setup. It's not about the technology, and it's not falling into sci-fi tropes that would make it feel like a science fiction sort of blend. Instead, it's more of a thriller with like a speculative lean. And that's really how I think about this book. I think about it as a domestic thriller with a spec lean. And that's kind of my ideas that I've thought of for me, like as a writing adult, have been thrillers with like speculative leans. And so I think that's really it, but I think I would call it and would be marketed as a thriller, and just that. And so I firmly settled into that, and I feel good about it. So yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. I just wanted to come on and put a little period in that. And when I talk about this book in the future, I'm just going to call it an adult thriller.
Life in the hills, it ain't all bad. Wait by the phone till you call back. Drove to the beach with the top back. Top back, top back. Locked eyes when you drove past. Blonde hair, lipstick in a Maybach. Pretty girl in the city world, Sneaking out the window like we used to. We don't have to hide, but girl, we choose to. Summer 16, you were all that I want. Remember when we used to have those long talks? Late night and sunlight and taking long walks.
I apologize in advance if this vlog has almost no b-roll, because I don't know, the month has been something of a blur, and I feel like I just like was not great at doing b-roll this month. So sorry in advance if you really like that, and it's just like back-to-back clips of me talking. But anyway, what have I accomplished this month? So I am in the finale, so that is like the last little bit of the couples retreat, which is great. So I have, I think, about like 10,000 words left to add to this draft, which I am very happy about because I'm so tired of drafting. Drafting is not my favorite part of the process, which I think is kind of funny, because when you think about like a writer and an author, like, wouldn't writing the book be the most enjoyable part? No, not for me. For me, the enjoyable part is planning the book and then revising the book by myself to make it better. When revision becomes hard for me is when other people get involved and I start having to fix things that I wasn't planning on fixing. Yeah, so drafting is very means to an end for me, but it's going along and I've been doing it consistently. And the thing about writing is, if you consistently write an amount of words, you will eventually end up with a book. And so I'm very close to having a book. And yeah, and it's also probably going to be about 60,000 words. And my ultimate goal is 75,000. So I will have a lot of room to add things and layer things onto the story. Because apparently I can only underwrite adult novels, not young adult novels. But anyway, so that's that. And then in terms of A Mastery of Monsters, I have finished my kind of like preliminary research. My researching isn't actually done, but I have enough researched that I can proceed with like getting my revisions planned and like figuring out what I'm gonna do. But some things are gonna be ongoing. Like I still have a bunch of books that I got in because I'm adding that new character who is Mohawk, and so I've gotten a bunch of books in about Mohawk culture and like some general like indigenous history and things like that. And so I'm gonna be reading those over a longer period of time, and I'm probably gonna be layering on to that character throughout the entire writing of the character on top of like later sensitivity reads, things like that. So the research is likely going to be ongoing. I find that for me, I also get a better grasp on like what other things I need to research once I've like written something in, and I can kind of see the spots where things are missing. And so that's helpful too. And I've done a bunch of other research. Like there's a character that does Taekwondo, and so I had to do some Taekwondo research, and the main character throws knives, and so I had to do research for knife throwing and a bunch of stuff. So I've gotten that whole preliminary portion done enough that I have something to go forward with. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, is that everything I did? Yes. My plans for going forward now are I am actually going to take a break from the couples retreat for a little bit after I finish drafting. So going into July, I still have 1 more week of drafting, but when I finish, I am actually going to let it rest. Originally, my plan was I was going to jump right into planning the self-edit and all of that, but I have that research trip, and the thing is, part of my edit was going to be adding all of those setting bits and really fleshing that out. And so what I had planned to do was like to plan my whole self-edit and to start editing and then to pause and then to do the research trip, which I would have been done, actually I would have been done editing the whole book by then, and then go back and like edit again to add in all the bits of setting and things that I learned from the research trip. And I was like, this is just silly. So I decided to take a break from it, let it rest for a little bit, and then the week before the research trip, I'm gonna plan my edits, and then I'll go on the trip, and that is when I will start editing. So just to give myself that time. And next month I will also begin to plan out my edits for a Mastery of Monsters as well. So it's gonna be a fun edit planning time, which I actually don't mind so much because it's part of the planning process, which I really like. So I'm actually all right with it. But yeah, this has been a month. This has definitely been a month. I feel like I can't even remember a bunch of the stuff that I did in the beginning of the month. Like I feel like whenever I do one thing consistently for the month, like writing wise, that it just like blurs all together. But anyway, we're hopping right into July, and I'm looking forward to everything that's going to come there. I'm also going to go to Toronto for a little bit to see my family and things like that. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this vlog. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!
Underneath the pill, you take it all off. Feeling deja vu while I'm kissing you. I could never forget the summer nights that we spent.